So, Douglas, before the film, you told part of the story about how you initially got these tapes. At that point, when you had gotten the tapes, where was it in the story? Had he filmed everything that we see in the film, or was it midway through?
He had filmed everything, and what happened is his mom was shopping the tapes around through this cousin, this DJ Scooby-Doo, and so she eventually came in and met with us, and I said, well, could you leave the tapes with us, and why don't we'll make you something to sort of show you what our take is on it. And she wouldn't leave the tapes with us, so she stayed in the office with us we had, I think, like 1 day to create something. And, originally they wanted to do more of a like what the other filmmaker talks about with the street video, like something you'd buy like on Canal Street, where you kind of realize they made the cover like at a Kinko's or something. And what I went to her and said was like, we could make this into a real movie. Like this could play. I would never say this to a filmmaker or anybody now. Like we could get this into Tribeca. I wouldn't promise that it would even play like on a TV set in Tribeca. No, it's at a film festival. And yeah, that's just not my style is like that. And but I tried to explain to her, and so we this concept of like a documentary. So there was a movie called Bus 174. Has anybody ever seen it? I think it's like one of the best found footage films. So we gave her that film and sort of said that it could be this. And the timing worked where Tribeca for like the year before we ended up submitting was happening. And I took her to one of those parties with like the orange cheese cubes and the free wine and sort of said like we could be here. And then I wasn't sure, I think then I got a call on Thanksgiving morning driving from Connecticut to the parade from someone, and this is Omar Broadway. And we had a talk, and the next thing you know, she brought us the tapes, and we started to make the film.
Now, I mean, you've described to me that there's a lot of backstories behind this film, and Omar's complicated character. He's had a lot of adversity in his life that none of us could ever match or think about. Talk to us about the latest chapter in his life.
Yeah, what had happened is to get to where we are today, where he wasn't able to be here. What happened is after the tapes, the film had sort of come out, he was moved to Maryland, which is a really odd move that they were able to put him in another state. And or not after the film had come out, after the Fox 5 had come out, they moved him to Maryland. And then eventually he got out, and more recently, I think when he got out this time, they put a bracelet on his ankle, which limited what he could do. And my understanding is at one point, whatever he was trying to do, he decided to cut that off because he's being prohibited from it, knowing at some point he would have to owe time to the prison. And his mom told me, obviously last week, that he'd gotten sick and that he had no way to get taken care of, and he decided he was going to have to give this time back, and so now was the time to go, which must have been a huge decision because he was waiting for this screening for about 2 years. It was rough. One other thing I would say,
am I right that he's never really been to a live screening? When the film screened at Tribeca, he couldn't be there.
When the film played at Tribeca, we had worked it out. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, the stuff that I love about the footage is really like how they just live there and they have these phones and things like that. So we had timed the screening at the first screening at Tribeca so that during the Q&A, he would call. And so, like, in the middle of Q&A, like, his mom came, it's like, here's the call. We kind of, like, put it to the microphone. He said a few things and stuff like that. No, somehow they got that out. I mean, that's one of the sort of interesting things, because we kept thinking, like, where would you, it's not like you're just going to throw it in the garbage, in the camera. But they didn't. They did not find out who the Walter was. My understanding is he's deceased at this point, the main Walter. He did come to the opening night of the Tribeca screening, and he was a big guy, and I remember he was like a huge presence, and I said to Lynn, like, do you know who that guy is? And she's like, that's Walter. And and he stood in the back, and he was gone. He did not want to talk to the filmmakers after the screening. But my understanding is he liked it. A lot of people came to see it from that worked at the prison or had family members during that time. When we submitted the film originally, I just put his name on it as the director to try and make that point that he, because he was the person that had the idea to, not that he expected to craft a film like this, but he wanted to make a movie and show this stuff. And then a lady from Tribeca, Jenna Terranova, called, and when they were considering it, said, well, clearly he didn't direct the film, he's in prison, what's the situation? Asked a similar question. So what happened is he sent some letters to the office, sort of talking about like the footage and different tapes and stuff to look at. I think his view, which I told
to your office,
to our office, send it to our office, sort of saying what might be on tapes and what to look for and things like that, like this long prison scroll, Papillon sort of things. And I think his view was he was thinking, it's a horrible example to bring, but like of something. Have you ever heard of a tape called Bum Fights?
Yes. Yeah.
So everyone knows Bum Fights at the IFC. That's amazing. So more than Bus 174, maybe. So the idea was he was thinking like we're gonna like that montage you see of all that violence, or just sort of like it just enough becomes enough. I think that's what he was thinking, and what I think made the stuff that made it immediately that stuck out to us was like that video sort of letter to his daughter, and like about his mom and how they cook. And those sort of things. I don't think he thought that had a place there. He didn't want us. There was a point where we were saying I'd gotten wind because we were giving the tapes piecemeal a little bit. And I said to Linda, she had mentioned, well, he sometimes says stuff to his daughter and stuff to me. And I'm like, we need to see that. And he's like, well, he was not going to want you to see that because it's this softer side of him, right? And in prison, you don't want to reveal that. But Lynn really was the hero in terms of, I think, putting the movie together, because she bought in at one point, and she was like, I'll give you those, and so that's when we started to craft it in that way and try and come up with the timeline. The warden went pretty soon after the movie came out. You saw that the stigma was closed 2 years after that. I don't know if there were any repercussions for those particular guards. I think the one of the most revealing things about the guards, I think, is that line where Mark Levin, who made Slam, said, because those we tried to use like filmmakers who worked in the prison genre as sort of our experts, and when he says that it's just such a great insight about like these people from the same area. One of the things unique to that prison, that was a prison that nobody in New Jersey wanted, and the former mayor before Cory Booker of Newark said, we'll take the prison. That prison, if you've ever gone to Newark Airport and by car, it's directly across the street. I mean, it is like, so it's like it's housed between the airport, the train station. You can see the skyline of Newark from there. So, and he said, we'll take the prison, but 90% of the people have to be from Newark or the surrounding areas. So everybody knows each other in there. We did, we snuck it, I shouldn't say snuck in there, under the prison project film. We went in there and got the interviews with the people that obviously they didn't know that we were making the Omar Broadway film, and he had just been there, and we had these tapes, but we did go in there and film. And the warden, who was eventually fired, he had said they didn't want us to interview him. The PR people denied it, but there's a very small office there, so we're interviewing him in that one room where you see the long desk where we interview the guy around Stigmu. And the warden's office is literally like, we're here, it's like right there. And I think he was like jealous that he wasn't being filmed. So he's like, I'll do the interview. And that's how we got his interview. I mean, I think he likes it because, I don't know if he's never shared with me whether like I would make this cut or that cut. I think the overwhelming reception that he got about the film when he was still in prison and out of there, I mean, he became a celebrity in Maryland prison because of the film, and he's pretty well known. I think, unfortunately, when he got back into the system, or when he got arrested by being in this car where there were some things that shouldn't be there, that has not worked out for him too well. There's no doubt about it. But he's told us he loves the film. I mean, I think there's like a few rappers. He's like in their songs now. Like they rap his name in songs. So he has somewhat of a celebrity because of it.
Now, do you have any understanding, now that he's back in the system, what lies ahead for him? Is there a timeline?
So it's
Which-
6 months. That's what he thinks, at least. But you just get caught with all these rules. I mean, I just feel like from what you see, like if they want to get you, they can get you. That one guard is like not, I shouldn't say surprisingly, but compared to film portrayals, he's surprisingly articulate. Like he understands the thing. He's like incredibly well spoken, and he kind of, he's somewhat sympathetic in an odd way, talking about the system. Sort of saying like, if you're not going after anarchy and fighting the system, what are you fighting for? Which you wouldn't expect to hear from a guard. But he believes it's 6 months for him. But once they got you, they got you.
Thank you very much for coming. Thanks especially to Douglas Tirola.